Hello, and welcome back to our series on the universal laws and wealth. So, when we're talking about the universal laws and wealth, we're talking about the flow of everything that makes us feel abundant and wealthy and alive. I've been bringing in or weaving in some topics around money because money tends to be a symptom of not being in flow with our own stream of wealth. It's a symptom that is easily recognizable. But so is a challenge in the body or a challenge in your relationships. All of that is related to the flow of wealth, of whether or not you're willing to believe you deserve a wealthy stream of experience. Good morning. So, divine timing. Now, I want to talk about this from a few different perspectives. Something I don't share a lot publicly. I don't know why. It just has never really come up in this way. But when I was thinking about divine timing this morning, I was quite emotional because what's different for me and what's different about the way that I teach universal laws and what's different from anything that I've ever found within the study of universal laws, and I've studied just about everything. I don't know what's come out in the recent years because I just stopped looking and I just continued bringing information in from the universe. But for me, I when I began my spiritual journey, divine timing began to come through and reveal itself very early on. And it was revealing itself through numbers. So originally I would see patterns in numbers. I always sensed there was something. I always sensed there was some connection. There was always some energy at the time. Maybe I thought it was an angel or I thought it was a guide. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of different belief systems that I had when I was in my early years as a child and not really knowing who to talk to about those things and not knowing what was happening to me. There was this knowing I often had. And I know a lot of you are familiar with that. I just knew things. And I would be pointed to things. And one of the things that I was pointed to was numbers. And I would see these patterns and numbers, and the pattern itself would speak to me. So I would see a series of numbers and I would know that that meant something. And I started to be able to interpret it. I knew those numbers had some sort of a meaning. I would feel something. I understood them. I could intuitively pick up on what those numbers meant. I eventually studied numerology, teach numerology, and now I understand that pattern really well. But that pattern also opened me up to exploring it even more. What is this information that's coming through? And through meditation, through a really beautiful meditation process, I met this stream of consciousness. And by met, I say that a little bit loose because I tapped into with a desire. I had a really strong desire to understand why things happened. I had experienced a series of patterns that were I thought were causing me a lot of suffering. I kept seeing a pattern of people dying in my life, and I kept seeing a pattern of losing things that I loved. And I was feeling this sensation of not belonging and feeling left out and feeling like I was never going to experience love. And I felt left out from money and so many things. I just felt separate and abandoned. And I felt like, how can I possibly contribute to this world? I feel like this world doesn't want me here. But I was noticing this pattern unfolding where I was going to a funeral several years in a row at the same time of year. And the funeral was playing the same music and the same books. And like I was seeing all of the same things. And it was enough that it was catching me. It was like, you're ending up here. I ended up at a funeral of somebody I barely knew, only to see this same funeral that I'd been to a year before. It was just the exact layout of it. And it was catching my attention. I was aware of this pattern. So I had this desire to understand why. Why is this pattern showing up? Why am I seeing elements of the same thing over and over again? Why is this cycling? I wanted to understand how that worked, how the universe could just so perfectly craft that to either punish me or awaken me. I didn't know at the time, right? This was 20 plus years ago. I had no idea, but I wanted to know. It was that desire that when I went into meditation, that desire brought in this force of energy that introduced itself to me as Jonah. So a lot of you know now I bring Jonah into conversations all the time, but Jonah represents a stream of consciousness. That consciousness introduced itself as a personality because I asked it, "What's your name? Who are you?" I expected it to be a being. I've since understood this is a stream of consciousness that personalizes itself for the fun of it, for the experience of it. But really, this stream of consciousness is devoted to timing, to the pattern, to understanding that pattern so that it can help humanity empower itself to awaken to unity consciousness, awaken to the cycles that we're living in, and then navigate those cycles from a sense of authority, not control, but the ability to steer our experience in it by understanding it. So similar to how I remember when was learning to two-step. This is a long time ago too. But when I went to go learn to two-step, I was in this class and I'm learning the movements, and the movements I could get, right? I could get that if I put my foot here and then I put my foot here and then I would go 3 steps this way and then a step this way, I could get that. But the moment that I needed to put them together in a pattern with other people, what I noticed is all the other people went this way and then I went this way. That's like, what is happening here? Why can't I get this pattern? I've got the moves. Why can't I get the pattern? And that was all just more reinforcement of the pattern matters more than the moves themselves. So let's look at the universal laws. The laws are really powerful. But if you don't know the pattern to use them, if you don't know the pattern in which they flow and move, then you're using the movements, but you're not in sync with the universe. You're not dancing with the room. You're not moving with the universe. And so you're not in flow. You're not in sync with things. And so you might implement this idea based on this law that you understand. You might really get that law, and that when I feel this, I'm attracting this. But if you're focused on the individual step, you're not dancing with life. And so this is why divine timing is so important, which is why, the brain game was then birthed. As Jonah worked with me for months, 9 months, to help me decipher this pattern of the universe, to decipher the pattern of those laws, that the laws work within a movement, they work within a flow, they're constantly at play, but they influence us in a pattern. And it's based on a psychological and emotional pattern. So the psychology, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, inspires movement. And then when we can get in sync with the movement of the universe, where the universe is moving with us, then we can dance with the flow of that, and we can come into partnership with our creation. So our desire calls in resources, just like my desire called in this experience of Jonah. And Jonah came in to help me understand at a deep level, and then has stayed with me for more than 20 years to help me teach it, to help me get clearer about it, to help me organize information that supports people moving with this timing pattern. And I love it. My desire hasn't changed since then. My desire to work with these laws has only increased. So this pattern is broken up into 6 stages of psychological and emotional expression that leads to physical answers, that leads to physical actions and those outcomes and those answers. So I want to talk about where the wealth comes in, where the experience of the things in the world. So when you understand the pattern and you understand what you're thinking and feeling in each of these stages, and how the rest of the world changes how it feels to you, it gets really easy to know when and where and what and how all the things that are going to unfold. You understand where you are in that pattern, and you don't have to keep repeating an old pattern. You can interrupt and change the pattern. So these 6 stages, a lot of you have probably heard me talk about this, but I'll say again, the stages of divine timing, they're not about, we hear divine timing all the time, talk about, well, in divine timing, which somehow assumes that the universe will decide when that moment is for you and give it to you, and you're at the whim of that. It's partly accurate. There is a moment when you will converge with the things that you want, and it is a divine moment. But divine timing is a timeline of your creation. So there is a timeline for your desire. And you walk this timeline based on your willingness to change your thinking and feeling. So you start off with a desire that you become aware of, and you become aware of it by usually not wanting something, but then desiring something. And so desire has amazing place there. And desire then wants to be transformed into a state of acceptance of, I'm going to accept this desire as something that I have. I'm going to turn this desire into an experience. I'm going to choose this desire. It's no longer going to be a thing I want. It's going to be a thing that I have. And so the acceptance process unfolds, where you accept where you are and accept that you're willing to experience a new reality. You're willing to experience something different than where you are, but where you are is okay. So there's an acceptance stage. And then you move to self-responsibility, which is a commitment stage, where you decide, I'm going to have this. I'm going to experience this. I'm going to experience the unfolding of my dream. right? And so then in that decision, this part's so crucial because this is a real mental and emotional stage. But then we shift into a more energetic amplifying stage where we move into the second half of the divine timeline, which is then moving into action. And you move into action based on your decision. Your decision will inspire things. So you can hear my other conversations in this. The other laws support each of these stages. So you're really activated in that decision. And then you're activated in the law of inspiration. Inspiration arises from moving through that. That inspiration then opens up action. And then that action unfolds in acceleration. And that acceleration has a set of laws that help that acceleration unfold. And then that acceleration becomes transmutation, where you are in the realizing of the completion of that timeline, where it's becoming your now. That all that desire is now manifest, it's materializing. So it is in the state of materializing. So very much like birth, the baby in the womb then becomes the baby outside of the womb. So you're in this journey all the time. And then you repeat this cycle over and over and over and over again. And when you become aware of it, then you understand that when I'm in awareness, acceptance, and self-responsibility, this is not a time for me to be wondering where results are. The results are not, the old results from other timelines are here. But new results, you're constantly being cared for. You're constantly in a pattern. Since the moment you were born, you were in a cycle, and the cycle keeps repeating. So you have the results to maintain what is, which is why you really need to love what is. Thank you, what is, because you're giving me the at least results to keep moving. But new results based on a new timeline, based on this new timing, the divine timing, those don't activate until activation. So until you get to the second half of that timeline, you don't experience any level of new result. And so it's really important to understand that you can take your time in awareness, acceptance, and acceleration. But this fear of making a decision just stops us from experiencing results. So the fear of being inside of you, the fear of owning your desire, the fear of saying, I've got this is mine, keeps you in a loop. It keeps you in this pattern of, I need to accept, I need to accept. And this is where we get caught in healing. Oh, there's something broken that needs to be fixed, something broken that needs to be fixed. And really, you're just in a broken record loop. You're not letting yourself progress in the timeline, and the timeline's moving without you. It's happening anyway, but you're consciously staying here, which means bring back to the dance floor. You're on the universal dance floor, and your dance partners are going this way. Your resources are going this way, and you're going this way. You're like, I need to keep thinking and feeling about this. I need to keep owning these steps. I need to master each of these steps, and learning to dance. I need to be really good at the steps. No, you need to be really good at the pattern, my dear. I needed to understand the pattern. I needed to understand how to work with others, to collaborate with the universe, to collaborate with my dance partners, to collaborate with the dance instructor, to collaborate with the teaching. We must learn to collaborate with all of the laws and all of the resources and components and the pieces of the laws and how they work together, not just the mastery of an individual law. They must come together. So this is what's different about this understanding and the conversation we're having. Oh, I love your question. Miracles arise the moment you make a decision. You activate the state of miracle. Anything can occur. Your level of believing you can have it activates a miracle. The moment you're willing to acknowledge that you are part of this opens up space in your thinking when you don't need to fill in all of the blanks, and you're willing to be with a dance partner on the floor, when you're willing to be with the universe and to be with the laws, then a miracle of timing collapsing instantly can occur. You can move from action to transmutation in an instant. In an instant. You can move from awareness to self-responsibility in an instant. That's a miracle. That's a miracle of faith and love and trust. So miracles travel with faith. Faith is about you and your belief that you do have stewardship over this timeline, that you can flow with the pattern. And then the timeline can collapse instantly or at whatever time is perfect. Your miracle unfolds the moment it arises. And then let's be real. Every time you collapse a timeline, every time you move through that timeline and experience the journey, it's a miracle. Every moment you love yourself more and you experience more, it's a miracle. When you no longer need to stay trapped in the loop of awareness to self-responsibility or awareness acceptance, you don't need to stay trapped in the healing aspect, it's a miracle. Anytime you make a leap of faith, you've experienced a miracle of moving beyond. You've moved from your current mirror to a new mirror, right? So you've cleared one experience and moved to the next. That's a miracle. It's incredibly beautiful. Divine timing is the key. Divine timing is the core of the teaching of everything that we teach. It's in Brain Game. We learn to awaken to the pattern, to awaken to it and live in it. Each step is about coming into alignment with the pattern, learning the steps and the pattern. Numerology helps us to dissect the pattern and what pattern did I create for me and how did I layer my personality and my path and all those things. How did that layer in? How is my timing showing up with the timing of the universe? And then Mind Shift is all about how do I master divine timing? How do I master all of the laws so that I'm moving in sync without having to consciously think about it? I've shifted. I have a mind shift into unity consciousness, into oneness, into the operation of the law of one, so that I then walk with the laws naturally. And I understand how being one with this timeline collapses it as instantly as I'm ready, as I'm willing. And then I can be a living miracle. Right? So this is what I'm devoted to understanding and to expressing and to sharing and to connecting with you. And why it's so important to offer this series so regularly is, yes, understand each law, but understand that there is a timing, there's a way that they come together. There is a dance here, right? Yeah. We walk with the laws. We are the living laws. We are living them. We are living them. So every time we're waking up to one of these conversations, we're learning the steps. And then there'll become a moment when you're ready to really master this timeline, the timing of all the laws. And then you can experience at the most surface level, experience outcomes when you want them, when you're ready for them, when you decide to have them. And then at the highest level of understanding, you just walk with it all. You just experience a life that is filled with the things that feel fulfilling. You're just walking with them. There's no need for anything. You desire and you create for the fun of the timeline. You're not trying to skip to the end. You don't need the miracle because you love the flow of living it. You love living the miracle out. It's the reason you came here. You didn't come here to instantly manifest because you could just stay in source for that. You could just watch it happen. You decided to live it. You wanted to walk the timeline. You wanted to experience the deliciousness of each of these laws and experience them in their own beauty, in their uniqueness, just like you wanted to experience your stream of consciousness. Just like I want to experience the stream of joy, the consciousness that I am embodying. And then I love to experience the stream of consciousness that is Jonah. I love experiencing it. I don't want to jump to the end of my life. I don't want to jump to the end of every journey. I want to savor it. I want to savor that creation, just like I want to savor the creation of this next space, this next experience of being in relationship with nature, in this building with people coming in. I want to experience the unfolding of it because that's just as blissful as the unfolding of then where that space will grow and how that space will be experienced. I want to experience all of that. I don't want to miss a step. I don't want to miss a moment with it. I want to be in each moment with the creation. I love to be in each moment with the timing, with that timeline. I'm not trying to jump ahead, but I don't want to drag my heels either. I'm not afraid of making a decision. I'm not afraid of walking the timeline because I understand it. And that's what I hope for all of you. I hope that you won't be afraid to make the decisions or walk through each step of the timeline, that you'll decide to savor it and let life become something that is magical and full of miracles. And the whole entire pathway is extraordinary. And then you can experience yourself as extraordinary. So selfish desire. I want us to feel it together. And I don't apologize for that. I love every second of that. So thank you so much. I am savoring this journey with all of you like I do every time. I appreciate you being here and being curious. And I will see you tomorrow as we continue to talk more about the laws that support this timing unfolding. All right. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.